Welcome to Terror in Tandem, a podcast about finding entertainment in the macabre, hosted by the knowledgeable and lovable Laura and Richard Mathiasen. Each episode, we discuss the horror genre, from books to film to TV and beyond, sometimes even from the beyond. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram at Terror in Tandem, and you'll always find our latest episode on our website, terrorintandem.com.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I think our YouTube playlist should be up to date.
Should be up to date.
Yeah.
Up
so check
to
it out.
it. Yeah.
Or Spotify.
Hop to it. It's up to it.
Apple. Or Poddy.
Poddy?
That's where I get all my podcasts. Poddy.
You don't have to say where you listen to your
Poddy.com.
You can get our podcast anywhere. And if you want us to keep making this, think about giving us a 5-star review.
Ooh. Or, just
a 5-star review.
Whatever Grandma gave you for Christmas this year, just stuff it in an envelope and send it over to Terror in Tandem, P.O. Box 666.
The Gates of Hell, California.
City of Dis. 90210. So, hey, what, you know what today is, everyone? Do you know what today is? Today is the long-awaited, clamored for, begged for.
My heart pounded for.
I mean, I could hear it between the floorboards behind all those bricks.
Is our final installment of our deep dive of Poe. Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't forget to wrap it all up.
No, it just took this long to watch every single adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's work, which we did. We watched every single one ever done.
And we're calling this our Poedaptation episode.
Welcome to Edgar Allan Poe Adaptations.
Yeah, this is the final installment of our deep dive. So also, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to DM our Instagram page at Terror in Tandem and let us know what horror genius you want us to deep dive next.
Ooh.
We dove deep into Stephen King's brain, which since I'm sure we have some like a bonus-ode we could do.
Oh yeah, I mean, since we finished the last episode, he's written 4 books and 18 movies have come out. So.
Yeah, and now we just did Poe, and we're wrapping this up. So, what horror master do you want us to double D on next? DM us so we can know who is next on our big D list. Double Ds.
Yes.
Big double Ds.
We're going to workshop that, folks. But
no, we're not. That's staying in.
All right. Well, hopefully your message will penetrate. So,
and you can DM.
Or
DM. Deep dive.
Depending on what you're into. Deep
dive to DMs.
So we are going to be talking about some of the many, extraordinarily many, large numbers of many.
But proportionately. Let's just talk about the proportions.
So Poe's been adapted for stage and screen pretty much since he died. I mean, he's, I would say his work and his style has it's perfect for adaptation.
And it's not only adaptations, but lots of inspiration, which we're not going to really get into all the movies and characters that were inspired by Poe and his works. That's crazy.
No, but
Who do you think we are?
His work is, it's pulpy, it's gothic, it's pretty accessible for the most part. It could be a little flowery, but he's not, James Joyce. He's not like impenetrable. And his imagination and his descriptions are so vivid that it's pretty easy to adapt his work. Also, like 80% of it is, just a guy going insane in a different way.
Speaking of percentage and proportions, back to what I was going to say about proportions is proportionately and percentagely. Most of his adaptations took place before the 90s, 1990.
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of early silent films. From the aughts and the teens of the 20th century. Yeah.
But even through the 50s and 60s into the 70s and 80s, there's been adaptations of Poe, and then it sort of petered out a little bit.
I'd say Lovecraft has come into vogue a lot more in the last couple decades.
Yeah. But we do, and we will talk about more contemporary adaptation of Poe when we get to our highlights.
Absolutely. So, one of the reasons Poe's been adapted as many times, and we'll get into one of the big proponents of this, is, he's been in public domain for a really long time. So it doesn't cost anything to take his stuff. It's a rare instance of something being extremely popular, accessible, and easy to adapt, and also being free. So, if you look up how many times it's been adapted, it's a lot. And I joked, but we've throughout our lives we've watched a lot. We watched a few more for this episode, but really we're touching on just a little bit, and getting to what you said, like inspiration wise, yeah, it's incalculable.
We're talking about about 150 years of post-death Poedaptations. I mean,
yeah,
obviously film
PDPs
wasn't invented in 1850, but
no.
Once it was,
As soon as it was, they were slapping them down.
And this isn't a lie.
Yeah,
as soon as film was invented, Poedaptations came into the black and white silent limelight.
Actually, one of the earliest adapters in cinema of Edgar Allan Poe was America's own darling D.W. Griffith, who directed Birth of a Nation. But, whatever. It happened.
Yeah.
That's just a thing that happened.
Yeah, you win some and you lose some.
Famous, cool guy. But we're not going to talk about that guy. The one that I think stands out, and the one that I enjoyed the most, is from this era, is from 1928. It's a silent short film directed by French director Jean Epstein, of The Fall of the House of Usher. Now, this movie is an experience. It's magnificent, to be honest with you. It's extremely French. It reminded me of the Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. There's a lot of dissolves and superimposing of images.
Yeah, is this the one where all the images of her faces are on top of each other, and it makes her look like she's going insane?
So the technique that John Epstein uses is he superimposes images of Madeline Usher on top, layer after layer after layer, and it creates an extremely disorienting sense of madness, which is what you ideally get when you're reading Edgar Allan Poe, is a disorienting sense of madness. You always feel like you have like a low-grade fever, and you're like kind of hallucinating. So it's not long. It's just very stylish. It does have a plot, sort of, but it's really just interesting to watch.
It's like a fever dream almost.
It really does feel that way.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like Louis Buñuel's silent films with Salvador Dali. It's very avant-garde, like surreal. That's the word I was going for. But it's really, really cool. Speaking of Louis Buñuel, who did Un Chien Andalou, he actually wrote the screenplay for this version, so he was heavily involved in this. So it has that very surreal, early film, experimental feel. And I don't think, I don't know if a lot of modern cinephiles appreciate that early cinema before, decades before the Hays Code was implemented, was wild and violent and sexy and weird.
Yeah.
Absolutely drug-fueled nightmare stuff that was shot and written by a lot of famous surrealists of the time, including, Buñuel and Salvador Dali. So a lot of these movies, including Fall of the House of Usher, are just surprisingly daring and experimental, when what followed this period after the kind of the fall of the golden era of Hollywood was sort of a few decades of like boring safe bullshit.
Yeah.
So I really recommend checking this out. You can find it anywhere. You just Google Fall of the House of Usher.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's where I watched it. So yeah, it's really, really cool. And whatever state of mind you are in when you watch it, I say, good for you.
Well, this isn't necessarily a recommendation. There was this little short ABC special called The Gold Bug in the 80s. And I remember watching it. I didn't know anything about Poe at that point. I mean, I wasn't very old. Maybe like 6.
You're not very old now.
Anyway, it starred Anthony Michael Hall, and he comes across a couple of, I don't know, swindlers, and he's looking for something, I think, and they are trying to find buried treasure, and he seems to be the key to this, and they end up kind of enlisting him in this search, and there's a curse, and it's all weird atmospheric stuff. And I believe it's like not black and white, but yellow. Does that make sense? It might be black and white,
sepia?
but yeah. I think it's filmed in black and white, but I remember it because later when I started to read Poe and learn about Poe, I was like, oh, I didn't know that those were connected. So sometimes when you are watching a movie or a TV show and something has been inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, you might not know it until you learn a little bit more. And I think that has happened a couple of times with some of the films that I've watched or books that I've watched or characters I've liked and been inspired and then gone back to do these episodes, especially the deep dive.
I've done that with all of Anthony Michael Hall's work.
No, but to reflect on how Poe has inspired so much. Sure. Especially in that gothic horror genre specifically.
You know, there's an accessibility, I think, to the specificity of his insane characters. And I mean, like, I think we can all connect to that feeling of something very specific making you go crazy. Yeah. You know, like maybe it doesn't bother other people, but God damn it, it's driving me insane. And while that might be different for everyone, the specific catalyst for that phenomenon exists for all of us. So Poe writing about going insane because of an old guy's creepy eyeball or the sound of something or a cat that he doesn't like that, you know, drives him out of his mind, or a bird on the bust of Pallas. Like, he's the, you know, it's like when you're in the office and you have to work next to the person that chews loudly. Yeah. That's not exactly world ending, but you know, you fantasize about creative ways to end that problem. Well, the theme, and I think that's part of it, you know?
Yeah, the themes are kind of this like obsession leading to doom.
Loneliness, obsession, unrequited feelings. I mean, he was the OG incel, you know?
And so the Gold Bug brought that up. I think it was like half an hour.
Nice.
A little short. Yeah. But I do remember it.
A little Anthony Michael Small.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about 2 versions of The Telltale Heart. Uh-huh. One amazing, and the other, I don't want to, we don't like to be negative. The other, terrible.
Well, I'm going to hop in with a third one that I don't know if you're going to discuss, but if you are, I'll just hop onto that one. I'm hopping somewhere.
Yeah. Well, you're always hopping somewhere. So
I'm hop frogging.
So my favorite adaptation, I would say, of Poe, and I'm going to reserve my favorite adaptation really for later, but my earliest favorite adaptation of Poe is The Telltale Heart from 1953. We were shown this in school, in college. Yeah. And it's an animated short film. It's less than 8 minutes. Again, you can watch it on YouTube. Directed by Ted Parmalee.
The People's Tube.
And narrated by James Mason. Yeah. That great voice he's got.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really an animated telling of the short story. It's really well done.
I remember it.
It hits very quickly. the use of shadow and the spinning of the frames really adds to kind of this maddening, first of all, the eye of the old man,
and the
that drives him mad to kill
the honing of the beam of light.
Yes. So that is kind of really well done, just with this animated shadowing and spinning frames. And then the art design is minimal but really effective because it uses fun house patterns, which kind of adds to that feeling of madness and confusion.
Yeah.
And the claustrophobia of the rooms being drawn, the stairs, and how they're all like collapsing on each other.
I feel like there's a period of time, especially in animation, like in Disney, where if you wanted to show someone going crazy, they ran into a funhouse.
Yeah.
Like the mirrors and the clowns. It was just always a scene in a funhouse, and that showed you like, oh, I'm going out of my mind.
And it just, he goes mad with the eye. He kills the old man. He buries the old man in the floorboards. The police come, and his hubris of trying to get away with it, asking them to have tea, and he can't take it because he can hear the heart beating and
the
just
beating
gives
of his
himself
hideous
up.
heart.
Like he probably wouldn't have been caught.
Villains.
And it's just really great. And it really does represent the short story well. Like,
yeah,
I would
rad.
say if you don't want to read the short story and you want a little visual understanding of the short story, or in concert with.
Or, that's where I would go.
Yeah.
Read it and watch. Read them and watch, people.
Read them and
read them and watch. That's what we say. Those are your rights at Terror in Tandem. Read them and watch.
That's good. Here's a terrible adaptation of Telltale. It's a movie called Telltale.
Produced by Ridley Scott, who's never done anything bad.
This was directed by Michael Cuesta.
From one of the Terror Tandem's beloved Long Island.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Nothing but fond memories.
And it stars Josh Lucas, Lena Headey before she was Cersei Lannister.
Yeah, but
way before. And Brian Cox with hair.
Brian Cox is in a lot of Michael
dark
Cuesta
hair
movies.
People.
They've collaborated a bunch of times.
It's staggering.
Yeah.
Anyway, this interpretation, and I'm using air quotes, and I know you can't see it.
Or as we call them here, scare quotes.
This interpretation is basically like this dude has a newly transplanted heart, and the heart makes him murder the people that killed his wife in front of him and killed him. So the heart has a mind of its own, and inside Josh Lucas's body, he makes him kill. So I say loose interpretation. It's not really an interpretation at all of the madness.
I mean, how
Josh
loose
Lucas
are we
doesn't
talking
go mad at all.
But also, what?
Yeah.
I just have a few questions.
Sure.
Starting with,
Brian Cox is the cop that's trying to like understand / figure out what's going on.
Is his name C. Auguste Dupin?
No, it's Philip Van Doren. And Josh Lucas's name is
Philip Van Doren.
Terry Bernard. Like, it has nothing.
This is like the fucking Lifetime presents Hallmark.
We do have a very quick character actor appearance by Michael Kenneth Williams, who quickly meets his end on a subway platform. Rest in peace. I really loved him as an actor.
Yeah. Omar.
Yeah, Omar. Yeah. So
I forgot his middle name was Kenneth.
Yeah, it's terrible, people. It doesn't have anything to do with the Telltale Heart. I am ashamed to have even wasted my time watching it.
Seems like a screenplay that was about something else, and then they went, hey, make it Poe.
I mean, on IMDb, the writer's credit is David Callahan. Dave Callahan and Edgar Allan Poe. So it is meant to be an inspired adaptation.
No, but I mean, sometimes like someone will buy a screenplay and then they'll just ram it into an existing franchise with a few changes to sell it.
But the story of the telltale heart. The heart doesn't make anybody do anything.
No, and it's
the
also...
heart doesn't make any sounds.
It's not physically transplanted into another person.
It's not even about the heart. It's about this guy murdering an old man and being driven mad by his decision. Like,
sounds amazing.
I mean, that's the short story.
So I would like to bring us back up into...
You're going to tell me about the other telltale
the
heart?
Positivity Zone with 2009's short film adaptation, The Telltale Heart, by none other than a pre-witch Robert Eggers. Now, this was the first time he collaborated with his longtime cinematographer, Yaron Blaschke, and Louise Ford, his editor. So it's like... And in Edgar's first own words, he said this is the first film he did that he was proud of. He said he calls it uneven, which, shit, man. I guess if you're holding it to a Robert Eggers standard, fine, but it's magnificent. So this is, even without knowing Robert Eggers directed it, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
The
dark and depressing.
The attention, well, yes, but the attention to historical detail is absurd. The costumes, the setting, it's just magnificent. It really looks like a, 19th century shitty, dreary New England boarding house because he shot it in an abandoned house in New Hampshire in February. No, this affected his plans. He had wanted to cast... in his own words, an actor basically on the verge of death as the old man. But shooting in a, abandoned old house in New Hampshire in February did not allow for that. So he didn't want to put a young actor in makeup. So the old man is a puppet. And I don't mean like a hand puppet. Like it's an incredibly beautiful, intricate, like creepy looking thing. So, this adaptation it's not very long. It's very dark, classic Eggers style. The same thing that he did with The Witch is
like dark in cinematography.
Yes, there's no electricity, so all of the interior night scenes are candlelight. It's just like The Witch. It was only candlelight, whatever was available, either daylight or candlelight.
Which lends itself to the short story really well.
Really does. And the denouement with the inspectors coming in, it's really very uncomfortable and very, very cool. But the honestly, one of my favorite parts of it was the very beginning when you're just watching the guy get dressed and like just the authenticity of the morning routine of, like winding your watch and brushing your jacket and tying your lapel down. It's like, it's really amazing. But the thing that, I think the Telltale Heart, I don't know if it was the first Poe I ever read, but it was, I think, the first Poe I ever really responded to. Because like the first thing they make you read is The Raven, which is a lot. Like I appreciate the fuck out of The Raven now, but as a sixth grader, not as much.
I mean, if you read The Raven and then read Telltale Heart, you can understand the repetition of madness.
Yeah, but The Raven was a bit over my head the first time it was introduced to me, whereas the Telltale Heart's a much more straightforward story. However, I remember reading it, the first few times and being like, wow, this old scary guy with his weird eye is so terrifying. And this, this poor guy, is stuck with him. And then you read it as a, functioning adult who's not a moron. And you realize it's a story about a fucking creep who stands in this poor old guy's room night after night, shining a light at him while this like helpless old man is like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And then murders him for no other reason than he doesn't like
his
old people. Yeah, but it's just, so one thing they do really well in one thing Eggers does really well in this adaptation is that that's really hammered home. Like from the moment you see him, the attendant at the boarding house is like a real creep. He's a sickly looking asshole, and the old man, even in puppet form, is vulnerable and frail and like. You see this man, this grown, healthy young man standing in his room at night
Because he
obsessing
sees
over
one
him.
characteristic
Yeah.
of a human person that
Yes.
he doesn't like.
And it was really cool, like, to confront that in myself, being like, when I was young and I read this, and that is because the story is written from the attendant's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an unreliable narrator, and when you're young, you just believe everything that's written, or hopefully you get over that. But reading it from the unreliable narrator, the best adaptations of it are the ones that show the murderer for the like paranoid, out of his mind monster that he is. Can't recommend this enough. This is another one. Just watch it on YouTube or Vimeo, or it's all over the place. Edgar's released it himself a few years ago, and like everything else he does, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. The Telltale Heart is probably one of the core, stories that people are exposed to.
Real quick, early episode of The Simpsons where...
the Treehouse of Horror episode?
No, there are multiple Treehouse for Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, there are.
Bart is the Raven.
Yeah,
that's incredible. But this was not a horror one. This was just one where there was... Lisa had another smart girl at school who was like a competitor for her, and they competed in a diorama contest, and she sabotaged the other girl's diorama, which was a diorama of the Telltale Heart with like a beating heart and floorboards and stuff. And Lisa kept hearing the beating from the diorama she had like hidden, and it drove her crazy. And she yelled like, 'tis the beating of his hideous heart, and, confessed what she had done and became friends with the girl at the end. And it was very sweet, but that was one of my favorite episodes.
That's awesome.
Really well done. It was also the one where Ralph Wiggum, he wins the diorama contest, and his diorama is just unopened Star Wars action figures sitting in a box. And Principal Skinner goes crazy, and that's the episode where he falls and he says, "I bet my Wookiee."
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, Simpsons does a lot of good Poe stuff.
Or they did.
Why don't you talk about the chunk of Roger Corman and our favorite?
Yeah. Roger Corman's Poe chunks.
No, but also Vincent Price.
Absolutely.
It's their coupling that is pretty incredible.
The Poe Corman cycle, as it's known.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, between 1960 and 1964, Roger Corman, who, if you don't know, was just the best, man. I mean, a prolific director, but perhaps even more than that, a godfather of the horror genre, someone who really took it seriously and advanced got a lot of people their starts, like James Cameron, Joe Dante, all got started with Roger Corman, Robert Towne. Anyway, it's also my early introduction to Poedaptations, because the first thing I ever saw was 1960s The Fall of the House of Usher, or just House of Usher, starring Vincent Price. Now, this kicked off the Corman cycle. He made 8 movies, 7 of which starred Vincent Price in the lead role, not protagonist, I'll say. Usually is the bad guy. Now, 1960s House of Usher is one of my favorites. I saw it at a young age, and I remember just thinking how magnificent the opening shots were, the castle itself, and then the ending when the castle is like literally cracking and falling apart. But the mist, the fog, the dead trees, and when Roger Corman was pitching this to the studios, he got a lot of pushback because this was, the late 50s that he was developing this, and the era of big monsters, atomic monsters, Godzilla, giant ants, giant tarantulas, whatever, monsters. So Corman got a lot of pushback when he pitched this because there was no monster, so to speak. There's nobody like in a suit. And he very famously said to the producer, whose name was Sam Ackerman, I think, he said, "Sam, the house is the monster." And that is extremely true. The big, monster in this movie is the mansion. As everything deteriorates around them, the house gets worse. It visibly shows the deterioration of Roderick, Madeline, of the family, of his machinations. And then by the end of the movie, when Madeline is breaking out of her casket and strangling her brother to death, the house is literally cracking and falling to pieces. Mm-hmm. So it's very
atmospheric.
Yes.
It's very of its time, but also a really great representation of the story.
Vincent Price's
Pretty
Roderick
directly.
Usher he does such a good job of that. Poe does this over and over in his stories of somebody who is hypersensitive, like hears everything. It happens in the Telltale Heart. Like I hear everything, the scratching of mice, and I think in the Telltale Heart he says something like, I hear everything in the heavens and the screaming in the hells below. So Roderick Usher, Vincent Price is like, the touch of fabric on my skin is like knives. It's great. But Vincent Price brings such a beautiful gravitas to these roles, and also a little bit of camp. These movies are largely serious, but there's just enough camp in there to make them fun. I would say their real draw for me, though, is just the color. That's especially prevalent. Now, he did The Pit and the Pendulum in 1961 was his next one. I'm going to get back to the color thing, but that's a great adaptation. Barbara Steele is in it, and I credit The Pit and the Pendulum as having a much better ending than the original story. In the original story, there's this sort of deus ex machina of rebels coming and getting the Inquisitors, and he gets rescued, and the ending of The Pit and the Pendulum is terrifying. I mean, there is that rescue, but the last shot is of Barbara Steele locked in an Iron Maiden, and it is really haunting. He followed it up with the anthology Tales of Terror in 1962, and then Premature Burial, which starred Ray Milland instead of Vincent Price. In the title role, Milland was in Dial M for Murder. He's a famous dead guy. 63 was The Raven, the Haunted Palace. 64, The Tomb of Ligeia. And the other one that I am going to really get into is Mask of the Red Death.
Yeah, which that's also
that is probably
pretty incredible.
The masterpiece. Now, Fall of the House of Usher, I have a lot of fondness for. It's one of the best ones.
It's very like Clue.
They're all
You know
great.
what I mean? It's very like, come into my home.
Mask of the Red Death is bananas.
Yeah.
It's one of Poe's scarier stories, but Vincent Price as Prospero, the lord, the hedonistic lord of this castle, is so magnificent. He is throwing an end of the world party, basically, where all of the rich folks are in his castle to fuck and drink and party and fuck some more, while everyone outside, all the poor people, are dying of the Red Death, which is like plague, but gross. Well, plague is gross, but it's just like plague, except it turns you red and you have blood all over you. Now, what the guests don't know is Prospero is going to sacrifice them all to Satan, which he does. And the movie is very much a product of the 60s. It's got this sort of psychedelic swinging vibe to it, but mixed with, medieval aesthetics and colors galore. There are different rooms. There's the white room, the yellow room, everything. The costumes are magnificent. And then, it's got this great ironic ending. And at the end, the final scene has the gathering of all the great pestilence, where they're all dressed monochromatically in their respective colors. So you have red, which, this whole time it was anthrax. You have white, it's tuberculosis; black, bubonic plague; yellow fever; orange, scurvy; blue, cholera, and purple, influenza. They all meet up with the one person that the Red Death decided to spare, which is this little village girl, just around a tree, and they just basically all talk about what a busy day they've had. All these diseases just wiping mankind from the earth. And one of the final lines is, Death saying, "Sic transit gloria mundi," which is just Latin for "thus passes the glory of the world." And it's another around a weird old tree with mist and fog and these sort of cosmic existential avatars, but straight out of the book of Revelation. And you get the sense that the world might have just ended, even though the whole movie's been contained to this castle with this, hedonistic death party. The end of the movie gives you a strong vibe that might have actually been the last night on Earth for anyone, which I love. Mask of the Red Death is an absolute insta watch. I recommend all these. Tomb of Ligeia is the weakest entry. Price is just a little miscast in that one. He's way too old for that role, but it's still fine. If you're only going to watch a few, though, House of Usher, Pit and the Pendulum, and Mask of the Red Death. And if you're only going to watch more than that, watch all of them. They're all great.
And I'm just going to go a little bit on a Vincent Price kick for a second, because
one of my all-time favorite
not
actors.
only was Roger Corman very obsessed with Poe, but Vincent Price himself was very obsessed with Poe.
And a literary gentleman.
He met Kenneth Johnson, who was the executive producer of the Mike Douglas Show. And during one of Vincent Price's appearances on the Mike Douglas Show.
That's where you could smoke cigarettes on talk shows.
Kenneth Johnson was like, here, go up on stage, turn the studio lights off, and read The Telltale Heart. And he, without rehearsing, Vincent Price read the poem and the audience went crazy. So Kenneth Johnson's idea was, let's make a one-man show with Vincent Price reading 4 adaptations of Poe. And it was called An Evening of Edgar Allan Poe from 1970. And it was split into 4 different acts.
I do really recommend listening to it.
I would highly recommend it. This is pretty incredible because it is Vincent Price being himself.
Yeah.
But reading and acting out Poe in these different scenarios. I mean, it's not like a lot of stage direction and things like that. It's a one-man show, and it's less than an hour. It is really incredible. Vincent Price memorized every single word. He did not require cue cards. He did not require prompts. He memorized everything, and he gave this kind of gothic refinement to this performance. So I would recommend this.
Even
100%.
a bad Vincent Price movie is still a Vincent Price movie.
Yeah.
And the like when he's doing Poe, you can tell he just loves He loves it. There are definitely a lot of movies Vincent Price did where he was like, all right, like I gotta like pay for my kids something, so I'll do this piece of shit. He was very like a working actor, but when he got to do Poe, when he got to sink his teeth into it, he really takes off with it. And his performances in each of these movies, they're already good movies on their own, but he is absolutely the anchor of each one of them.
But if you are, interested in learning about, I think it's Telltale Heart, Pit and the Pendulum, The Sphinx, and one other, Cask of Amontillado. Those are the 4 acts.
For the love of God, Montresor.
So, it's basically like having an audiobook read to you by Vincent Price. Check it out.
And real quick, speaking of audiobooks, I do recommend the Edgar Allan Poe BBC radio collection. It's really good. Andrew Scott is one of the narrators who you probably know by now. But
Very handsome.
Yes. It's a mix of... calm down there. It's a mix of like radio drama and straight up just audiobook with a little bit of, commentary. But you can get it on Audible. It's all over the place. But it's a long one. You can pick and choose which ones you want to read. Like his most famous stories are in there. But it's just something about hearing these gothic tales read in like sonorous British voices that is nice. It's a good pairing. Yeah. It's
nice to fall asleep to.
It's very actually, yeah, it is. It is really nice.
Well, speaking of falling asleep, let's take a quick break. Are you over the 50 Shades of Dull? Looking for a way to spice up more than just your sex life? Introducing H.H. Holmes Home Dungeon Design, where we take the kink out of the clink. With H.H. Holmes' discreet and silent design team, we transform your once tantalizing sex dungeon into a terrifying, dungeon. If you've already satisfied your craving for masochism, why not redesign your space for maximum sadism? We will reimagine your space to allow for all of your darkest plans to come to life. Don't have a sex room to convert? Don't worry, we love a blank slate. With our 3D specs, we can show you all the horrors, nightmares, and tortures you can create with just a few modifications to your space. Need drainage? We have the latest drainage grading and high flow power technology used by the military to clean their most stubborn messes. So make that call from the last payphone in your town and engage with one of our talented dungeon designers today. This is a fake ad for a fake product on a horror-themed podcast. We do not endorse nor condone kidnapping, torture, or murder, no matter how bougie your kill room is.
Oh, sorry. It took me a long time to get those bricks out of the way. You really packed them in. Yeah. Good job.
I know. Well, you got to stay in the basement somehow.
I keep falling for the old Amontillado trick.
I know. Oh, God, do you love your Amontillado?
I do. Everyone knows that about me.
So I think for this back section of the episode, we're going to talk about our favorite and most contemporary adaptation of Poe, which is no surprise to regular listeners about who is the creator behind this.
Now, this is Poe in his, this is the Poe adaptation in its final evolution, its final, boss form.
This is this is the baseline to beat.
I don't think it can be.
I don't think so either.
I
think it can only be expanded.
You can do your own spin, your own interpretations, but this was pinnacle for me.
Yes.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about, I know this sounds familiar, The Fall of the House of Usher. However, this is not a film or a short. This is a limited series created by
Mike Flanagan. Oh, hi, Mike and Kate. We know you listen.
Yeah.
This was
you're the best. Keep
Mike,
doing what you're doing.
Before Netflix exploded its own incredibly lucrative partnership with Mike Flanagan and gave him to Amazon, he put together what is called The Fall of the House of Usher, but is really an adaptation of most of Poe's work, including a lot of his poetry.
So let me give you some of the details. It's starring Bruce Greenwood, Carla Gugino, Mary McDonald, Henry Thomas, etc., etc., etc. And I'm going to talk about other people
all the
too.
Flanagans are in it. All the many players of Mike Flanagan.
And it's a focus on the Usher family, flashing back to siblings Roderick and Madeline gaining their fortune for their Fortunato Pharmaceuticals, which has been getting a ton of bad press of late. So we flash back a bit to see how they got their
Fortunato
fortune.
Pharmaceuticals.
It's all a reference.
Everything is
a
in
reference.
Show is every name, the name of places. The names
gonna
of people,
get into
fucking
those.
all there, man.
And so the ADA, C. Auguste Dupin, which again is another one, played by Carl Lumley.
Oh, love him so much. Martian Manhunter, for those of you that know.
Or on Alias.
On Alias, of course. I like it from everything that you love.
He wants to convict the family and hold them, accountable. And the children of the Ushers start to die pretty tragically.
Ooh.
And in symbolic ways. And Roderick...
tragic
for us.
It's more like gnarly because they're terrible.
Yeah. Well, Roderick decides to say to Dupin, come and I'll tell you everything.
Yep.
And so we are now the recipients of this telling.
Which is really cool. It's written, it's all bookended and the framing of this anthology is, an old Roderick Usher confessing his crimes in that very Poe tradition of writing a diary about the terrible things that have happened,
and again, he's a bit of an unreliable narrator because we are also seeing what is happening. Even though it's his retelling, we are actually seeing the flashback, the things that he's done, the choices that he's made, the choices he still is making, and the way that he's representing himself isn't as accurate as what we are seeing. And that's kind of the magic of Mike Flanagan is... Even if there's a character that is representing themselves one way, that might not be the truth.
I I want to talk about the cast for a minute.
Yeah.
Because it's enormous and it's full of Flanagan,
Flanagan
mainstays.
favorites.
And what I really like about Mike Flanagan is, he's got his long stays like the Bruce Greenwood and Carla Gugino and Kate Siegel. But it seems like every project he does, he meets someone new that he vibes with. Bly Manor and Midnight Mass. He just like each new project, he gets a new person. Like he picked up Mark Hamill for Fall of the House of Usher, and now he's done Life of Chuck with him.
Yeah, and from Midnight Mass, he collected a couple folks that are in this.
Yeah, Tania Miller returns from Bly Manor and all that. But yeah, Samantha Sloyan from Midnight Mass, very memorably. I do want to point out Willa Fitzgerald playing young Madeline Usher. She was incredible in Strange Darling as the lady.
Yeah,
holy fuck.
Young Madeline.
Yeah, she played, and she's amazing as young Madeline. She's just a really talented actor.
And young Roderick was played by
Zach Gilford. Yeah, yeah.
Who is also now
Midnight Mass.
Oh, which I don't know. That's an incredible show. I need to rewatch, I think.
I mean, that's really great because it's not an adaptation. It's its own thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's not done a bunch of adaptations.
No, but Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor.
But Oculus wasn't. Hush wasn't.
I'm not saying everything. I'm saying it's.
I don't know why you're talking terrible about Mike Flanagan.
My God.
So talk more about the characters, or was that it?
Just talking about what an incredible ensemble he creates, and I think it's a testament to his work as a director that people always want to work with him. Like and it's nice when like any working relationship, when you work with somebody over a period of time on more than one project, you develop a rhythm and a language, and you can really tell that this is a group of people that are hitting their peak together. They've worked together before. Bruce Greenwood and Carla Gugino have worked together a number of times.
Yeah. They were in another Mike Flanagan,
Gerald's
Stephen
Game.
King. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, but
Mike Flanagan loves Stephen King too, which is another connection we have. See, we have so much in common.
The Dark Tower. I hope that's going well. But yeah, this adaptation, it in its anthology and in its framing, it does kind of go into specific Poe stories, but even within those, there are so many references. Like Henry Thomas's wife is Berenice, and that's a Poe story. And what happens to her, not in one episode but throughout the series, is the story of Berenice. So, like, even within the adaptations of the stories, he's adapting other Poe stories.
So let me talk about those a little bit. So, I'm just going to go through a little bit of a list of some Poe references in these limited series. Each of the children wear signature colors, which is from the Roger Corman Mask of the Red Death. It's a specific callback to the adaptation of Roger Corman's adaptation of the Mask of the Red Death. So each child wears a signature color. Goldbug, although not a horror, is referenced and symbolized with a logo for Tamerlane's Goldbug Company. Arthur Pym, the Usher's lawyer, played by Mark Hamill, is a reference to the only novel written by Poe, which is the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket.
Yep.
Lots of character names come from Poe stories, which you mentioned. One,
Annabelle Lee.
Lenore from The Raven. Tamerlane from the same poem, like the
Tamerlane.
work of the same.
Yeah.
Camille, Murders of the Rue Morgue. Prospero from Mask of the Red Death, and Annabelle Lee you mentioned. And all the episode titles are from Poe stories or lines from Poe stories. So A Midnight Dreary from The Raven, The Black Cat, The Telltale Heart, and so on.
God, it's accessible, I think, to anyone, but if you've deeply read Poe, it's so rewarding.
And the death scenes of a lot of the characters also
gnarly.
Are based on the story. So Frederick's death is based on the Pit and the Pendulum. Grease's murder is the Cask of Amontillado, and Perry's death is based on the Mask of the Red Death.
And he also knocks all of his wife's teeth out like Berenice.
Yeah. There's also the Black Cat episode.
Yeah. God damn. Just the best. I mean, in classic Flanagan style, it's intricately woven. It's
and it's not a direct retelling of any of the stories.
No. It's an absolute.
You have to be a Poe
It's an interpretation.
elite.
Like that, you can, like I said, you can watch this and just appreciate it for, a supernatural, dramatic Succession
Sure.
style, like rich billionaires getting murked in weird ways by something supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a Poe fan, it is, every inch of it is just layered with, I mean,
You'll get so much out of it.
The Leonardo
Easter eggs,
DiCaprio,
it's all that, like the love of getting the Easter eggs.
the DiCaprio meme where from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's like pointing, like, oh, it's that the whole time. You're just like, oh shit, that's from Ultima Doom, like that kind of thing.
And I just gave you a handful. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think it shows how much research Flanagan put in thoughtfully, because it's not like he throws everything Poe in this story
It's
either.
not like
still
a Star
very
Wars
much a
movie
Mike
where
Flanagan.
they're just throwing in shit to please people.
Because you'll still see Flanagan stuff because, he talks. There's like characters that discuss Gerald's game. The Oculus mirror, which makes an appearance in pretty much everything Mike Flanagan does.
the Flanaganiverse.
Yeah. So it's also his,
Yeah.
work very clearly too.
It's, he's a prolific guy. He does a lot.
Yes. So it's very layered. It's very visually stunning and appealing.
It's gnarly too.
It is. It's very
gory.
scary and bloody.
Yeah.
And I think it elevates Poe to in a way that no other adaptation has, which makes this my favorite adaptation because it really does bring Poe into contemporary, like in the zeitgeist.
Absolutely.
Because this family is supposed to be like the opioid family.
The Sacklers.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly who they are, is the Sackler family. So there is that element of watching the fictitious Sackler family get murdered in ironic, gory, gruesome ways, because that's as close to justice as we'll ever goddamn get.
Yeah, and it's about like excess and
That's
money.
The brilliance is anybody who's read Poe will you can't help but notice that a recurring theme in a lot of Poe stories is how much he hates the aristocracy and the rich. Hop Frog, Cask of Amontillado, he's always taking the piss out of these dandy, drunken, useless idiots. And this show is about a horrible 1% family and the unfathomable damage they wreak on everyone around them and ultimately themselves.
It's very much like trying to access your golden parachute after you've already used one.
It's got the whole Crossroads demon like element to it. It references some of his like very deep cut, like lesser known poetry and short stories. It's just got
even
something for
Roderick
everybody.
kind of being so composed in his nice clothes with his fancy alcohol while he's telling Dupin this story, and his estate, his life, his legacy is crumbling.
Yeah, because he's in the house.
Yeah.
He's in the actual
Around
his
him.
childhood house, which is the Usher house. It's just as an aside, hearing, multiple scenes where the only two voices you hear are Carl Lumbly and Bruce Greenwood. It's like, oh my God. So beautiful.
Sad that what happened with the original casting happened to the people on
for
set.
those that don't know,
I think
Roderick Usher
brought it up.
was
Frank Langella.
originally Frank Langella, which would have been quite different because Frank Langella is a good deal older than Bruce Greenwood. Now they olded up Bruce Greenwood a little bit, but he's still very.
It would have been kind of like a Vincent Price-ish portrayal.
Frank Langella is old.
Yeah.
It would have been a different portrayal. It is unfortunate that turns out he was a grabby creep.
Yep. Sorry for everybody on set, but thank goodness, because Bruce Greenwood is perfect.
Of course, Bruce Greenwood's the kind of guy that just. He never phones it in. Even when he's in a movie like The Core, he's still great in it, you know? But this is pinnacle adaptation.
It is.
It is
pinnacle in the pendulum.
It is somehow both very faithful and reverential to the source material while unafraid to adapt it, to really interpret it.
It's an homage, but it's so new.
Yeah.
It's brand new. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. If anyone
wanted to know, how do you adapt something that's been done a million times, put your own unique spin on it, but without disrespecting the material, this is it. This is the masterclass.
I mean, Mike Flanagan does it so well in so many ways, but this is also a pivot for him because his other stuff has been a little bit more subdued. I mean, scary, but this was really bright and bloody and violent.
Because it's Edgar Allan Poe, it allowed him to really go a bit over the top with it. There's a grand guignol element to it, a lavishness, and it's a bit over. Like there's a slight melodrama to it because that's Poe.
Yeah, there's an indulgence of it.
Poe's strength, I think we can agree. It's not that he was the most gifted writer. It's that his imagination was fantastic.
Yeah, he was fucked up in the head.
He was a pretty good writer, but he was an incredible visualist.
Yeah, the source material is great, and what Mike Flanagan did with it was extraordinary.
Yeah,
best adaptation of Poe.
I don't think this should be the standard that others are held to, because I think it just is its own thing.
Yeah.
Adapting Poe
else has to do better than this.
Still very much, happening all the time, and it should.
But take a note from Mike Flanagan. How does a short story from 1845 relate to what's happening right now? And how do you make that honor the original
Shakespeare?
Yeah.
The reason the themes are timeless, and there will always be hedonistic rich assholes throwing devil parties. Yeah. I mean, there's a trial.
Diddy is on trial.
Right now for basically Hop Frog style Mask of the Red Death parties.
Yeah.
With
baby oil instead of plagues.
But so Poe is as goddamn relevant now as he ever was.
Yeah.
If not more.
Take a note. Adaptations don't have to take place in the timeline that they were written.
Yeah.
They can be, relevant for more contemporary audiences.
Poe enough.
Yeah. So that was our deep.
Just super quick.
I always want to wrap up, everyone. Do you guys notice that when I try to wrap up, someone never lets me?
This will just be
I don't know who it is.
I know we said we weren't going to do influences, but I just want to throw a little curveball out there. For those of you freaks like me, you want to watch something that is barely Poe, but still really sleazy and weird. Oh, man. 1972's directed by Sergio Martino, giallo masterpiece with the coolest name, Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. Now, it's loosely based on The Black Cat. There are actually a few giallo films that are based on The Black Cat. Cat in the Brain by Lucio Fulci is an excellent one. But this one, giallo adapted Poe a lot. You can see a lot of Poe in Mario Bava's films, in Martino in Argento, but Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. It's got everything. Anita Strindberg, nudity, lots of murder, a plot that makes no sense, mistresses, pervy people watching other people have sex and then killing them. It's Martino. He directed Torso. He was one of the sweatier giallo directors. His movies are grimy. And this one I watched because the poster's amazing and the title is an all-timer. And it's awesome. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. It's violent. It's gross. It's really sleazy. And it's definitely a 70s giallo movie, but it's technically a Poe adaptation.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now, I believe one of us was desperate to leave.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to our deep dive on Poe series.
This
has been our Poedaptations. And have a great rest of whatever.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our theme was written and performed by Carrie Denver, and all other music was written and performed by David Suspanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. We're staying.